Hoş gördük. Herkesin sabahı xeyir olsun. Salam, salam. Ay maşallah. Mən yaxşıyam. Sabahın xeyir rəfiqə. Hər birimiz günəşin qızıyıq, günəşin oğluyuq. Ne gözəl. Salam, salam hər kəsə. Bazar günü səhər bu qədər gözəl ürəklər, gözəl ruhlar qoşulur bizim canlı yayımımıza. Çox sevindim. Çox özümü şanslı hiss edirəm bu canlının baş tutması üçün. Çünki düşünün ki, sizinlə həmişə paylaşdığım o əfsanə insanı dəvət etmişəm bura və indi onu əlavə edəcəm. Tərcümə də edəcəm birbaşa. İndi Simon da qoşulsun. Kızlar, çox güman ki mən, kızlar və oğlanlar, çox üzr istəyirəm, çox güman ki mən canlı yayımda rəyləri söndürəcəm. Sonra axıra yaxın yandıracağım. Çünki mane olur rəylər fikrin yayılmasında. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Good to see you.
And you? It's
are you
in 1
driving?
hour, right?
Yes, maximum.
No. I mean, you wanted me to join in 1 hour's time, I think. Or is it now?
No, it is now. It's
you told me 10 o'clock Moscow time.
10 o'clock Moscow time. Oh, gosh.
That's a miscommunication. That's okay. I will be chatting to you from the beach. No problem.
Is that all right for you?
You'll get a real Australian experience on the beach.
Oh, lovely. And it seems really nice and sunny there.
Yeah, it's a nice winter day.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. It's lovely.
That's funny. So who is with us? We can say hi to everyone.
Yeah, we have plenty viewers at the moment. The followers of selfhelp.us.
Nice. And where are most people from?
Mostly Azerbaijan. Mostly Azerbaijan.
West Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Salam alaikum. Hello, everyone.
I will do small translation for the important points, so everybody understands what we are talking about. And Simon, you okay in the car, right? You are not driving.
No, I'm arriving right now. I'm at the beach. I'm with my partner. I thought we have 1 hour before the talk, because I thought it's 10 o'clock Moscow time. But don't worry.
It's okay.
It's okay, because the kids need some sunshine. Right, kids?
Oh, good. Nice to see you. I was talking about you a lot on my page, and everybody was looking forward to meet you. I feel very lucky you accepted my invitation. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Now I'm going to show you all. Well, let's see. We just come. This is my local beach in Australia. I will give you like a little tour.
Oh, lovely.
You can see what it's really the beginning of spring. Like it's not official spring, but it's really the beginning of spring. So I can show you just a little bit, some houses. It's a nice area.
Oh, lovely.
Let's see.
Oh, it's nice. Amazing. We are in Azerbaijan.
I know it's a bit windy. I'm sorry about that. I want to show you a little bit what the city looks like, and then I will go in the car so we can talk without the wind.
Perfect. It's lovely. I do little translation introduction. Qızlar, oğlanlar, hər birinizi bir daha salamlayıram. İndi bizim vaxt qarışdırmamız olubdu. Mən 10 Moskva vaxtı demişəm. Onun üçün 10 Moskva vaxtı 11'dir. də, yəni bizim 11-də. Ona görə bir balaca qoy özünə yer tapsın. Simon rahat bir yerdə otursun. Gözəlliyə baxın. Burada Azərbaycandan oturub Avstraliyaya baxırıq biz. Necə gözəl deyilmi? Ay, əla. Bax, Simon'ın başqa tanışları da gəlir canlı yayıma. Mən tərcümə edəcəm sizə əsas yerləri. Ona görə heç narahat olmayın. Və artıq mənə göndərdiyiniz suallar da var. O sualları da hazırlamışam. İndi Simon'la bunlar barədə söhbət edəcəyik. Simon, you muted yourself, right?
Yeah, because it's quite windy, so I'll be in the car.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so you all got to see a little bit of Australia.
It's lovely. It's very nice. Amazing how we can be in Azerbaijan at the same time, see and feel Australia. Yeah, thank you. Simon, so sorry for Sunday morning taking you from your rest, from your time with family.
It's okay.
You know, I mean, I became a bit emotional, to be honest. I don't know why. And so long, I mean, since March, I'm very much into RPT, and it became my life. It became really part of my life. So I feel like I'm the student of the legend. You know, you are for me legend. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this world with us, and for teaching us this perfect, this really, this method. You know, thank you for that.
It's been a pleasure, and I really enjoyed having you on the courses. So it's been good.
Deməli, mən Simon'ı salamlayıram və həqiqətən bir balaca belə bir hisslərim oldu ki, özümü bir əfsanənin tələbəsi kimi hiss elədim. Həqiqətən o insanla bir dünyanı paylaşmaq çox mənim üçün şərəfdir. Yes, Simon. So I have some questions, mostly about RPT, of course, and we want to hear your personal story. I know you have been doing therapy even before, but how come you decided to create your own method, and give us a little story? Even some followers sent me a message. They read about you on your page, like how you treated your tumor, and they know some even story about you, but we would love to hear it from you.
Sure. I'm going to try to give the short version, even if it's a long story, but the short version is like this, that if I go back to when I was 27 years old, I found out I had a type of brain tumor. And really at that time, I was not very interested in therapy at all, but I was quite interested in personal development. I was doing different personal development courses, and based on that kind of network, I started to explore like some different techniques and coaching and whatever. And of course, I wanted there to be some kind of miracle, and I tried lots of techniques, but nothing really worked. And I did have surgery. I don't know if you know that, but so really my life was saved by surgeons. But I got really interested still in like finding some technique that could really work and help me with any side effects. And there were some techniques that I was doing that I really, really liked. And I spent about 3 or 4 years studying different techniques. And my experience was like this, like if we can imagine a curve. So it's like you start here and then it gets better and better and better and better, but then it crashes. And what I kept finding, this experience, like it's getting better, better, better, and then back to where I started. And I experienced that through so many different techniques that you can feel great. You can feel this incredible euphoria, but then whether it's after 1 day or 1 week or even 1 year, but you end up back where you started. And that's really what happened to me, was that I would make all these changes, I would get better, and back to where I started. And so starting, let's say approximately 10 years ago,
shall I translate this bit? I'm sorry, I translate this bit. Sure. Deməli 27 yaşında aşkar olunur ki, beyin bir şiş növü var beynində Simon'ın və bu həmin zamanlar o 27 yaşında terapiya ilə yox, sırf özünün inkişafla məşğul olmağa özünü verir və müxtəlif texnikalar yoxlayır, müxtəlif, hətta özünə xoşuna gələn çox müxtəlif texnikalardan istifadə edir. Ancaq özünün də göstərdiyi kimi sanki gedir, yaxşı olurdu və yenidən çarx onu gətirirdi başlanğıc nöqtəyə. Yəni, yaxşı olub, sonra yenidən geri qayıdırdı. Və hətta həmin dövrdə cərrahi əməliyyat belə baş tutur onda və beləliklə bu özünü inkişaf, yəni özünü müalicə yolları axtarmağa başlayır. Yes, please.
Sure. So it's starting about 12 years ago is when I quit from doing other techniques and I became really devoted to this particular question of how can we get a permanent result? How can we get a result that it's like if it goes up, it should stay stable at that point. And that was a couple of years of research which led to development of what was the first version of RPT. It's completely different than what we do now. It's been 12 years, so we're on like the fourth or fifth generation of the technique. But even from the first generation of the technique, it was always about how do we get a stable result. I wasn't trying to make the fastest technique. I wasn't trying to get the simplest technique. I think over time, with the fourth or fifth generation of it, it is much faster and simpler. But always from the beginning, it was like, how can we get a stable result? That was like a problem that I wanted to solve, and which I spent several years of like research and experiment and development. How do we get a stable result? You want to translate that, or should I continue?
Yeah, sure. Deməli, ilk başdan elə məqsəd o idi ki, necə edək ki, stabil bir nəticələr əldə etsin. Çünki qalxır insan bir yaxşı bir yerə və həmin stabil vəziyyəti saxlaya bilsin. O zamanlar 12 il bundan öncə RPT bugünkü RPT kimi değildi. Yəni bugün çox sadə və çox belə qısa müddətdə nəticə verəndir. O zamanlar məqsəd o deyildi. Məqsəd o idi ki, daha uzun müddətli və stabil bir nəticə alaq.
And a big part of that was understanding the concept of what is a bypass. And it's like a really important concept in our work. So a bypass is a way where you solve a problem, at least in the short term, you solve a problem, but without really dealing with all of the underlying factors. So it's like if you imagine there's a block in the road and a bypass gets around that. So when you look at more or less every technique, personal development, healing, therapy, more or less every technique works on this principle of a bypass, which means that it's like giving you new tools and helping you to get on with your life, but it doesn't really solve the problem. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of the time that's okay. You can, like really, you can live with a bypass, except you must accept the danger. And the danger is this, that it's this curve we were talking about before, that you get better, better, better until something triggers that original problem, that original trauma or whatever, and then boom, the bypass ends. As soon as the underlying thing is triggered, that bypass will stop. And that was certainly my experience going back to when I first began. I was using other healing techniques, really some very like famous, well-known techniques, and they really helped me until something happened to trigger the original problem. And then within like a day, you know, I'm back where I started. And I saw that with all my clients from 15 years ago, that they're the same. They make incredible progress. They're better, so long as they never trigger the original problem. As soon as you trigger that original problem, you're back where you started. And I realized that more or less every technique, I think basically every technique that I really analyzed works on this principle of bypass, where it's like, okay, we're just going to help you to not trigger that problem anymore, and hopefully you can live the rest of your life in this like happy little bypass state. But there's always that danger. So what I did was I developed two things. I developed a test. Firstly, how do we test if something's a bypass? And then how do we develop a technique that's not a bypass? And that was like the main problem I wanted to solve.
Perfect. Deməli, so interesting for me. I mean, I'm very much into it. It's like hearing it everything again and again. So I will explain it very precisely to the people. Deməli, əsas məqsəd nə idi? Əsas məqsəd o idi ki, stabil nəticə alsınlar və onun analiz etdiyi, yəni Simon'ın analiz etdiyi və araşdırdığı bütün texnikalar yan keçmə nəticəsi verirdilər. Yan keçmə nəticəsi də nə idi? Yan keçmə nəticəsi, yəni bu pis bir şey deyil əslində, ancaq sanki yol gedirsən, qabağına bir daş çıxır, sənə həmin müddətdə sənə kömək edəcək alətlər verir ki, sən o daşın üstündən keçəsən və yaxud yan keçəsən ki, heç bir zərər görməyəsən. Amma heç bir şəkildə həmin o daşı aradan götürmür. Ona görə o özünə məqsəd qoyur ki, mən elə bir araşdırma edir ki, elə bir nəticə yaransın ki, elə bir metod yaransın ki, iki şeydə bizə kömək eləsin. Bir, həmin o yan keçməni aradan qaldırsın, yəni köklü həll olsun travma. Çünki travma və yaxud hər hansı bir bizi narahat edən bir vəziyyət, həyatımızda baş verən bir durum varsa, o bizi gələcəkdə hər hansı bir trigger, bizi narahat edən bir vəziyyət olanda, o həmin o vəziyyət qaşınanda yenidən bizi həmin o başlanğıc nöqtəyə atmasın. Elə Simon özü də özündə onu müşahidə edir ki, inkişaf edir, ancaq nəsə bir şey baş verir, atır özünü həmin başlanğıc nöqtəyə ki, bunu biz də həyatımızda yaşamışıq, görə bilərsiniz öz həyatınızda. Və həmin bu məqsədə çatmaq üçün bu araşdırmanı edir və RPT-nin ilkin versiyası belə yaranır. Yes.
Cool. So yeah, that's a bit of background. What other questions have you got, or what specifically should we chat about?
So since let's say 12-15 years, RPT is evolving, right? And at the moment, now when we are talking about RPT, we're also talking like physical, how we can treat physical symptoms, etc. With your example, you're talking about tumor, and a lot of questions came to me asking that, is it like all physical symptoms can be treated by RPT? I mean, how you can explain this?
Yeah, it's a good question. The short answer is no, and even I don't talk about physical symptoms all that much. I think we should start with like a very precise definition of what we do. So I tell people like RPT is a set of programs, set of techniques which can permanently change your emotional state, and that's really important that that's what people understand. So I don't have some like magic tool for fixing physical problems, but we can really change how a person feels on the inside, and we can do it in a way that's stable, like it should last forever. And that's really amazing. That's a great thing. And when you change what you feel on the inside, there should also be changes in your body, in your physical state, because, and I think you know it, everyone on this call probably knows this, that there's a relationship between your emotional state and your physical state. It's like we say, as within, so without, as on the inside, so on the outside, as above, so below. So that's like the principle is that we're changing how we feel, and we're sometimes changing very precise emotions which correspond with different parts of the body, and the body does change in a sort of a calculated way. Like what I can say from experience is that there's some physical problems which are very, very emotional. So it's like it's a physical symptom, but if you change just one emotion, that physical symptom will change. Then there's other physical symptoms which are maybe more complicated, or maybe have nothing to do with your emotions at all. So I know sort of from experience that some physical symptoms we can really make a very big difference very quickly, like change one trauma and it's gone. And other physical symptoms, we can help a little bit. We can reduce the pain, reduce the stress, but it's not always a magical sort of result. So it really depends. It's like a case-by-case basis. I can make some generalizations for you, but it really depends on the person, and it depends, like, is their physical problem caused by emotions?
Yeah, sure. Deməli, sualım nə idi? Sualım o idi ki, əslində sizin bir neçə sualı birləşdirib mən bir sual şəklində verdim. Fiziki simptomlar müalicə oluna bilərmi RPT ilə? Və qısa cavabı yoxdur. Yəni, bütün fiziki simptomlara aid deyil bu. Ancaq geniş cavabı nədir Simon'ın? Deyir ki, mən onu deyə bilərəm ki, RPT emosional durumu həmişəlik dəyişə bilir. Yəni, mənfidən müsbətə keçirə bilir emosional durumu. Və biz də onu bilirik ki, bilirsiniz, bu barədə biz çox danışırıq. Bizim bədənimiz həmişə bizim emosiyalarımızı, bizim ümumiyyətlə psixikamızın başa çəkə bilmədiyi şeylər bizim bədənimizdə simptomlarla üzə çıxır. Və emosional durum dəyişirsə, onda təbii ki, bədən də ona yaxşı cavab verməyə başlayır. Və burada bir məsələ də ondan odur ki, əgər fiziki simptom ki, çox vaxt bu belədir, emosional durumla, hər hansı bir emosional durumun dəyişməsindən baş veribsə, məsəl üçün, hər hansı bir travmadan, qorxudan filan baş veribsə, onda həmin travma aradan qaldıranda təbii ki, bədən də eyni şəkildə cavab verməyə başlayır. Ona görə biz içimiz nədir, üzümüzdə odur, düzdür, biz bunu bilirik. Emosiyalar, fiziki bədən hamısı bir-birindən həmişə əlaqəlidir. Biz RPT ilə emosional durumu dəyişməklə fiziki durumu da dəyişə bilərik. Ancaq yenə də bu asılıdır individual şəxsdən, individual hekayədən, yəni vəziyyətdən və həmin fiziki sindromu yaradan travmadan. Thank you.
And also it's worth maybe talking about how we have many layers, like emotional layers. So a person who's never done any sort of this kind of therapy before, they can have many layers that you need to go through. So sometimes it looks like, from the outside, it looks like you did one session and the person is miraculously healed. But really, they could have been preparing for that one session for a long time, because we take away these layers one by one. So a good example of that is on our level 3 course. And I can explain that, like, level 1 and 2 is just theory, just the technique. And level 3 is really the application. And what we do on the level 3 is we do a different theme every day or every part of the program, where we go through layers, like trauma layers and giving and receiving and clearing abuse and boundaries. And we do that for about like 10 days of this program. And after that, after you've done about 9 or 10 days of it, then all of a sudden you can make changes really quickly, because you've cleared so many layers. So we do some processes on this course. Like, to give example, we do a process of improving eyesight. Another process about clearing viruses from the body. Different things like that, which look like really miraculous results, that we got these instant physical changes. And it's really instant. Like, the person can't read, they take off their glasses, they can't read. And 1 hour later, they take off their glasses and they're reading. Like, instant results. It is instant, but it's also like weeks and weeks of work in preparing yourself for that instant result. So I just wanted to explain that. So sometimes people can call me up and they say, hey, I want to do a session with you and I want you to fix all my diseases in 1 hour session. It doesn't, I'm sorry, I wish I could do that. But it's more like a commitment. It's a commitment to taking away these different layers. And it can require, you know, every person's different, but it can require 5, 10 sessions depending on the person. The good news is you feel better after every single session. Like, you never feel nothing. Like, one session could be like opening your heart, and the next session is like really connecting with different feelings, being able to like express yourself, being able to listen. Like, every session, every time you'll feel better, but it can take like quite a few layers to really open yourself up to be ready for like the big physical sort of changes. And that's one thing which I wish that everyone could understand that better.
Sure, I will explain now. Deməli, nəyi vurğulamaq istəyir? Bizim hazırlığımızı, terapiyaya həqiqətən hazırlıqdan çox şey asılıdır. Çünki emosional qatlar var, yəni müəyyən qatlar var ki, yığılıb üstə və böyük bir zireh yaradıbdır bizim ətrafımızda. Bəzi insanlar var ki, artıq terapiyalar etdikcə və artıq o layları açdıqca artıq daha rahat olur onlarla işləmək. Məsəl üçün olubdur ki, bir insanla bir sessiyaya çox gözəl nəticə almaq olur. Ancaq bəzi insanlar o qədər qapalıdırlar ki, o qədər zireh var ki onların ətrafında, onlarla uzun müddət işləməli olur. Və nümunə gətirir Simon bizim öz kursumuzdan, RPT 3-dən. Çünki RPT 1 və 2-də biz daha çox teoriyanı öyrənirik və ilkin bilməmiz gerəkən bilikləri öyrənirik. Ancaq RPT 3-də biz tema bölürük və həmin temaların dərinliklərinə getməyə başlayırıq. Və biz özümüz terapevtlər bir-birimizi terapiya edirik. Düşünün ki, hərəmiz bəlkə də 20, 30, 40 terapiyadan keçirik. Və təbii ki, bir RPT 3-dən çıxmış bir nəfərin bir terapiyada göz problemini belə həll etməsi mümkündür və yaxud başqa viruslardan qurtulma və s. Ancaq individual vəziyyətdən çox asılıdır. Yəni kimsə zəng vursa, zəng edib desək ki, mənim filan problemim var, onu mənə bir sessiya həll edə bilərsən. Bu təbii ki, gülməli olar. Çünki reallıq odur ki, insan hazırlığından çox şey asılıdır. Yəni bəzi fiziki simptomlar 5-6 sessiya, bəzən 1, bəzən 10 sessiya qədər çəkə bilir. And I want to add something, Simon, on this point. While I'm doing the therapy, what I noticed when a client from our closed group, we have a closed group called Mandala Women Club, where with women we have done lots of practices for over 2 years. With them, I get really good results. You know, like it's like very easy to work with these ladies because they are ready, kind of. They work with their layers. But when someone new comes, I have to spend quite a lot of time to explain and I mean, it is visible actually when person is ready, when person is not ready. It's also making decision, taking responsibility over your healing process as well. Bir də ona əlavə etdim ki, əslində mən özüm bir terapevt kimi iki fərqi görürəm. Necə ki, bizim Mandala Qadın Klubundan gələn klientlərdə necə tez nəticələr ala bilirəm. Ancaq kənardan gələnlərdə biraz uzun vaxt sərf oluna bilir. Çünki insanın hazırlığını artıq mənlə birlikdə getməli olurlar. Onlar özləri bəzən tam hazır ola bilmirlər. Very interesting. Yeah, shall I go to next question or you want to add something?
Before we do, I just want to say hi. I'm seeing lots of my friends joining in the chat and people I didn't talk to for a while. So just really nice to say hello to everybody.
Oh, lovely. And also there's one lady, I think she was your student as well. She said that I wish it was in Russian as well so I could understand.
Next time.
Next time, yeah, hopefully.
And just for people who if you missed the beginning and you're wondering why I'm sitting in the car, it's my mistake. I thought that we're starting at 10 o'clock Moscow time, not 10 o'clock Baikal time. So I thought I had one more hour on the beach before the call. That's why I'm sitting in the car, just to explain that to people.
Deməli, deyir ki, mənim bu maşında olmamın səbəbi odur ki, yenidən qoşulanlara vaxt qarşılığı olubdu. 10 Moskva vaxtı ilə düşünübdü Simon. Ona görə biz indi maşında etməli oluruq. But actually it was my fault, Simon. I should have said party time. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, it works perfect.
It might look weird why I'm sitting in the car, but I'm actually on the beach, but it's a bit windy outside.
I have done my exam, RPT exam in the car. Yes.
That's all right.
So it sometimes happens. Then next question is, I always sometimes talk about manifestation. You know, you also do manifestation courses with on the base of RPT. And there's that kind of question, can all dreams be manifested? What can you say about this?
Well, it's a it's a complicated one. The funny thing, people who are my students know that I don't even really believe in manifesting. And I have a manifesting course, but it's actually more accurate to call it like the anti-manifesting course.
Yes. I explain at the end if you want.
Right.
Yeah.
It depends on your definition. Here's the thing. So often people, when they give a definition of manifesting, it's like there's something that you don't have, which you're dreaming about. Like, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. But it's almost by definition that it's something external to yourself and outside of yourself. And manifesting is like the process, some kind of process of getting this thing you don't have. That's a normal definition of it. And so according to that definition, I'm very anti-manifesting, which means I think that you shouldn't do it. And the reason I'm writing like a whole long book about this, but the very short thing, the reason why you shouldn't do it is it's always a bypass. It's a way of compensating for what you don't have. In other words, instead of working on yourself and what you really have on the inside and improving that, the manifesting is always compensating for past trauma and for lack. And the simplest example that I could give is in the sort of situation where let's say there's a woman who wants a man, and she's thinking, what are the characteristics of the man that I want? And she might say he should be tall, he should be rich, etc. Whatever characteristics she says, it's always compensating for what is lacking in her life or lacking in her past partners. And we see this every single time, that when I do a process, I do a therapy session with that client, and we heal the trauma of her past relationships, we heal what is lacking from the past, then what she wants for the future changes. It instantly changes because she's not lacking it anymore. And here's the thing, if the manifesting work, if she manifested for that man and she meets him, because it can work. So let's say she meets her man, her dream man, the chances are that after a few weeks, she won't be happy again. She'll find something else that's wrong, because there's a core inside her that's unhappy. And even if she gets her dream, she'll still be unhappy. So the whole process of RPT is not to manifest things, but to heal who you are on the inside. And from that healed place, you will just attract. You will attract better relationships, better business, money, whatever, but not through manifestation. So we actually don't do manifesting. We just heal that resource state on the inside and attract differently. I haven't answered the question yet, but that's like the fundamental philosophy. Then the question was, can you manifest for anything you dream? Well, even if we put aside that I don't believe in manifesting, I think the answer is still no, because not every dream can be fulfilled. Like if a little girl dreams to be a princess, but there's not that many princes in the world that are looking to marry a princess, you know, like not every single dream comes true. Not everyone is going to be a millionaire. Not everyone's going to marry a movie star. But I think if we take it to a simpler level, like just basic things of living comfortably, living well, having a happy relationship, that kind of thing, then yes, that kind of dream, I think everyone is capable of that. Everyone is capable of being happy, and everyone's capable of living a happy, comfortable life. And it's mostly just about letting go of sabotage, letting go of fear, and like working on what's inside of yourself. That's my philosophy.
Perfect. Actually, I deliberately asked this question. I wanted them to hear from you.
Sure.
So
you know I have strong opinions on this subject.
I know. Good. Then deməli, mən bu sualı qəsdən verdim əslində. Sual nə idi? Bütün arzular manifest oluna bilərmi? Amma onun fəlsəfəsi nədir bu haqda ki, mən bundan %100 razıyam. Yəni tam bütün fikrim dəyişibdi bununla bağlı. Demək, RPT-də və Simon'un fəlsəfəsinə görə manifestasiya deyil, əslində anti-manifestasiyadır. Bu nə deməkdir? Çünki biz manifest etmək nədən yaranır? Yəni onun tərifi nədir? Bizim həyatımızda olmayan hər hansı bir şeyi reallaşdırmaq. Və həmin o reallaşdırmaq istəyi həmişə ola bilsin ki, çox vaxt yan keçməklə baş tutur. Yəni, məsəl üçün, mən filan insanla ailə qurmaq istəyirəm. Ailə qurur, manifest edir, ancaq bir müddətdən sonra yenə problemlər yaranır. Və yaxud filan maşını istəyirəm, alır, ancaq bir müddətdən sonra deyir ki, yox, bu yaxşı deyilmiş, o birini istəyirəm. Demək, kök səbəb, anti-manifestasiya niyə deyir Simon? Əsas nə isə istəyəndə o istəməyə, o istəyin həyata keçməsinin kompensasiya etdiyi o kök səbəb, kök travmanı həll etməyi məsləhət görür bizə. Yəni, insan öz içindəki o yaraları sağaltsa və özü ilə içində xoş olsa, onda o elə həmin o xoş halı ilə özünə doğru insanları cəlb edəcəkdir, özünə uyğun yoldaş tapacaqdır, özünə uyğun şərait düzəldəcəkdir. Yəni onun artıq narazı qaldığı bir yeri olmayacaqdır ki, nədənsə yapışsın, nəyisə qaşıyıb çağırmağa çalışsın. Və bu onun fəlsəfəsidir əslində. Manifestasiya yox, sırf anti-manifestasiya. Yəni birinci öz içimizdəki yaraları sağaltmaq, travmaları sağaltmaq. Və suala cavab da odur ki, təbii ki, bütün arzular həyata keçmir. Çünki arzuların da öz reallıq dərəcələri var. Yəni, dünyada yetərincə şahzadə yoxdur ki, bütün qızlar şahzadə olsunlar. Əsas bizim içimizdə özümüzü şahzadə hiss etməyimizdir. Very nice, Simon. I really wanted this, my followers hear it from you. Thank you so much. And another question is about traumas. I mean, how can all the traumas, even the traumas before our life, like traumas we are not aware, be healed with RPT? I mean, maybe you can explain a little bit about that.
I think that the answer is yes. In general, like I didn't have trouble healing trauma. That includes like the ancestral type trauma. It's not a problem. And trauma from childhood. Like we have really, really good techniques for healing trauma. The main issue which people should know about is like, we could say secondary gain or attachment. So the main reason why trauma healing doesn't work for some people is because they're very attached to it. And I want to give an example. This has nothing to do with RPT. This example is actually from 15 years ago, like before RPT, but it's still a very good example. That I had this client at that time, and she had some really bad history of sexual abuse. And I'm trying to help her using the techniques which I had from that time, but I'm really trying to help her. And it just wasn't working. She was really stuck. And then I thought to ask her some questions to do with like attachment and secondary gain. And I asked her some questions similar like, what would happen to you? Like, what's the worst thing that would happen to you if you didn't have this trauma anymore? Like if we could heal all of your problems and your trauma right now, what would happen? Mm-hmm. And her answer was like, she's like, well, I would need to get a new job. What do you mean? She's like, well, she's an engineer in a very like masculine work environment, and all of her work and all of her personality at work and everything is based around this, in RPT now we call it armor, her armor of like, I'm a survivor and I survived this abuse and I'm tough. And so she had this realization that in her opinion anyway, if she really healed everything, if she really let go of all this trauma, she would have to let go of everything, including let go of her career and really start again. I'm not sure that that's true. I don't think that she really had to change her job. But anyway, that was her attachment. And I said to her, I was like, well, okay, but you came to me for so many sessions to heal the abuse. You want to heal this trauma. Maybe it's time. Like, let's do it. Let's heal this abuse. And she's like, no, I don't want to heal. I don't want to heal it. It's not worth it to me. I'd rather keep the abuse. That, like I said, that was before RPT. I think now with RPT we have some different tools. We could maybe handle that a bit differently. But it's still it's an example that really stuck in my mind from 15 years ago. And the point is this: like, the biggest problem isn't trauma. The biggest problem is the attachment and the secondary gain, and the way in which people just identify with their problem and get stuck in their problem. And so, you know, now with our techniques, and we have in RPT this de-armoring process, which is very fast. It's healing trauma isn't the problem. Like, the key is like to remove this attachment, to remove the identity, to remove the reasons why people get stuck in it. I think that yes, we can heal any trauma, fine, but you need to get the client ready for it. You need to make sure that they're not benefiting from their trauma, that they're not like living in the story of that trauma anymore. And I would say that we teach that's like the skill that we teach from level 1 course onwards. That's the key to it, is letting go of that armor, that story. Trauma is easy. It's everything else.
Perfect. Thank you. And Nazira explain. Deməli, bu sualın qısa cavabı bəli. Bütün travmalar əslində silinə bilər. Bizim həyatımızda olan travmalar, həyatımızdan öncəki travmalar, yəni ruhumuzun öncəki təcəssümlərindəki olan travmalar. Ancaq travmanın həll tapmasında, şəfa tapmasında əsas travmanın özü deyil. Əsas o travmanın bizə, insana verdiyi ikinci dərəcəli xeyirlərdir, faydalardır. Bu da nədir? Bunu bizə bir nümunə ilə izah edir Simon 15 il öncəki bir terapiya nümunəsi ilə. Demək, bir qadın özündə seksual təcavüz travması olan bir qadın kişilərlə münasibət qura bilmir və özü də bir mühəndis vəzifəsində bir vəzifədə işləyir və o gəlir ki, həmin bu terapiyaya özünə kömək eləsin. O vaxtlar hələ RPT yox idi və çox çətinlik çəkir. Simon ancaq gəlib bir yerə çatanda ki, suallar versin ki, görsün bu insan niyə bu travmanı vermək istəmir, nədir onun qazancı, ikinci dərəcəli qazancı bu travmadan, və belə bir şey ortaya çıxır ki, sual verir, sən bu travman olmasa, sən nə etməli olardın? Yəni, səni nədir bu travmada bu qədər yapışdırıb saxlayan? O deyir ki, o zaman işimi dəyişməli olardım. deməli, həmin bu iş, onun işlədiyi iş ona sanki bir zirək kimi onu qoruyur, onu. Yəni, kişi kimi, başa düşürsünüz? Yəni, mən özümü sübut etmişəm, mən sağ qaldım təcavüzdən, seksual təcavüzdən və mən özümə həm kişiyəm, həm qadınam kimi bir bədən, sanki özünə bir zirək yaradır və həmin o işi də onun üçün bir zirəkdir və həmin o yapışma, o yapışır həmin o zirəkinə buraxmaq istəməməyi onun həmin o travmasından yapışmasıdır ki, əşi, mənim üçün burada daha təhlükəsi, daha rahatdır. Ona görə travmanın, niyə deyirik ki, travmanı həll etmək üçün hazırlıq lazımdır? Yəni, birinci lazımdır ki, biz bu RPT-nin çox gözəl, çox sadə bir texnikalar var ki, orada biz həmin o birinci o asıllığı götürürük. Niyə həmin travmanın o sabotaj edir insan? Niyə həmin travmadan yapışıb qalır? Ona görə birinci o yapışqanlığı aradan qaldırmaq, o hirsi aradan qaldırmaq, o zirəyi aradan qaldırmaq, sonra isə travmanı həll etmək çox asandır. Bax belə. Very good. And Simon, we have little time, like 10 minutes, okay with you? 10 more minutes?
Yeah. Tell me your questions anyway. We'll do our best. I just want to get a little bit more sunshine on the beach.
Yeah, sure. Actually, traumas we covered. Maybe let's do this way. What would be your, among our followers, there are therapists, there are people who hear about RPT. I want to be the therapist. What would be your advice for these young therapists and they just start? How to gain your wish, your advice to young therapists, where to start, and what would be our success to go? I don't know if I could explain it.
Sure. So, advice to therapists. Honestly, the first thing that I would say, and the most important thing, is to work on yourself. Like, never stop learning and never stop kind of receiving therapy. One of the problems that I see a lot is when I talk to therapists, every therapist really has good intentions. Like, people become a therapist usually because they want to help other people, and often also because they're trying to help themselves as well. But I often see where people became a therapist and they have like technical qualifications, but they haven't done enough work on themselves, and sometimes they don't really have this emotional stability yet, right? So how do you know if this is the case? Firstly, in your professional work, if you are talking to a client and you're getting a kind of activation from the client, so maybe the client is telling you about their father issues or their relationship issues, and then you feel some activation of your father issues and your relationship issues, already it's a sign you haven't done enough work on yourself. Now, this is okay. Please don't feel ashamed. Please don't feel judged. This is all of us. All of us go through this. But it's just a reminder for you to keep working on yourself. That's at work. Now, also in your personal life, the same thing applies. Maybe you have a very professional state at work, but in your personal life, you're just not that stable. You're getting activated a lot. Like, for example, I have a good friend who's a psychologist, and she's a very, very good psychologist. But it's difficult to be friends with her because you say the wrong word and she's just triggered and she won't talk to me for a few weeks. We have more of a professional relationship and we work together, but as friends, it's quite difficult because, like, I'm afraid now to say anything because she can so easily get activated. And I sometimes think, how are you a psychologist? But I remember that she's actually a very good psychologist. She's very professional at work, but she's just not stable. And I think that this is the thing, that it's a process for young therapists that they go through, is getting to that point of stability. And look, it took me more than 10 years. I'm not pretending like I got this in one day. It took time, but for at least 10 years. And I was a therapist all of that 10 years. But for at least my first 10 years of being a therapist, I was really, really working on myself and receiving a session from another practitioner minimum once a week, right? So what I did was I have friends that I trusted, and we have a mirror effect. Like, if I have a problem, he has the same problem. We're good mirrors. And so for minimum 10 years, once a week, minimum, sometimes more than that, I'm receiving a session. I'm saying, I say to my colleague that I work with, like, okay, in the last week, these were different things that activated me. I had a client with this problem with his dad, and I realized I still have this with my dad, or I have this problem with my girlfriend, or whatever. Minimum once a week, working through these issues till I get to this point where I'm quite emotionally stable. I'm not perfect. Believe me, I'm not perfect. I still have things that I work on. But it's a difference between getting activated every day or every week. Now it could be every month, every few months. It just, you get to this point of stability. And that is the #1 bit of advice that I can give to therapists. And if you're wondering how to do that, like, I can say that our course, like especially our level 3 course, is the #1 course I've seen for therapists. Like, almost everyone doing that course is already a therapist, although that's not necessary. But it's mostly a course for therapists to work on themselves. And they become much better therapists. They become much better at fixing their clients when they have this inner stability. Because when you have this resource, this calmness and this clarity inside yourself, it's so much easier to help your clients, and you can take your clients out of their trauma like 100 times faster when you have that clarity inside yourself. So that's really absolutely my main advice. If you like sort of my style, of course, I invite you to work with an RPT therapist or do the RPT courses. But if you have another style and another technique, that's okay too. The main thing is to do it. Like, keep using your tools and using your techniques, but minimum on a weekly basis or more, until you really have that real flow state and that calmness. That's my advice.
Perfect, thank you. Demək, sualım oydu ki, Simona, çünki sizlər aranızda da var ki, yazırsınız mənə, necə biz özümüz terapist ola bilərik və mən özüm də bilirsiniz ki, illərdir, 12 ildən çoxdur ki, mən sırf bu sahədə çalışıram. Mən ancaq hələ indiyənə qədər özümə terapist adı verməmişdim. Sırf bu RPT 3-ü keçəndən sonra bunu deməyə başladım mən özümə. Və məsləhəti odur ki, əgər terapiya edən şəxs, qarşı tərəfin, kliyentin travması ilə onu narahat edən vəziyyət onu qıcıqlandırırsa, yəni məsəl üçün, əgər kliyentin atası ilə bağlı bir travması varsa, o terapevtin də öz daxili travmasını qıcıqlandırırsa, bu demək deyil ki, terapevt özü ilə yetərincə işləməyibdir. Çünki insan çox sertifikatlı diplomlar qazana bilər, ancaq həqiqətən onu özündə tətbiq etmək lazımdır. Və məsləhəti də odur ki, terapevt özü üzərində daimi işləməlidir, öyrənməlidir və özü terapiya almalıdır. Və RPT 3-də elə məhz bunun üçün niyə biz hamımız bundan keçdik? Çünki həmin dövrdə biz həftə ərzində ən azı bizə bir-birimizə bir terapiya verirdik. Yəni bu terapevtin özünün travmalarını heç olmasa stabil vəziyyətə gətirməsindən asılıdır. Yəni heç kəs ideal deyilsiniz. Simon deyir ki, mən özüm də bütün təmizləyib qurtarmamışam, təbii ki. Və belə bir nümunə deyir ki, mənim bir dostum var, psixoloq, həmin o qadın psixoloq işləyir, ancaq onunla dost olmaq çox çətindir. Çünki deyir, mən sözlərimi çox ehtiyatla seçməliyəm, bəzən onun tez xətrinə dəyir. Bəzən hətta fikirləşirəm ki, nə oldu, bəs bu necə psixoloqdur ki, ona söz demək olmur. Ona görə bəzən insan professional ola bilər, ancaq özünün daxili travmaları həmişə yansıyır qarşı tərəfə. Və bir gənc terapevtlər kimi məsləhəti odur ki, qısa olaraq o üzərinizdə daima işləyin və öyrənin. Yeah, thank you so much, Simon. I did my best to translate. To be honest, I wasn't focusing on kind of, how would say, my role wasn't translator. For me, it was also to refresh talking to you, even though we had lesson yesterday with you. Yeah, I always have that.
Let me swap it around, Gülnar. Let me ask you some questions, okay?
Sure.
So I want to ask you, what has been the most surprising thing that you learned? Like, of all the RPT courses that you did, what did you learn that was most surprising, that was like challenging to your beliefs that you had from before RPT?
I tell you, actually, I have a very easy answer for that. Anti-manifestation. Anti-manifestation okay. Was because I'm very popular here for teaching manifestation trainings. Yes, and I did even author training on vision board. And I know there are lots of cases when vision board doesn't work, or works but not with emotional like happiness.
Right.
And that was for me big surprise and big like kind of eye opening for me. And for that part for me was very surprising. But the rest as well, actually, but that part especially, anti-manifestation, I love that word. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I don't want to keep you more from your sun, to get more sunshine.
Yeah, that's cool. So I want to say thanks to everyone for joining me on a beautiful Australian Sunday. And it's been fun, and hopefully we can do some more of these so I can see everybody. And hope to see you. And guys, if you if anyone, if you're interested about courses, so we do have RPT trainers that come to Baku. How do you say it? How do you say it?
Baku.
Baku.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know we have some trainers that go there. And in Russia and Ukraine and other countries, we do have trainers in quite a few different countries. But these days, a lot of it's online. So we have a few people doing level 1 and 2 online. I'm doing level 3 and 4 online. So lots of ways that people can learn. And if you want to do a one-on-one session, for sure, you can go to Gülnar. And if you speak English and you want to work with me, you can come to me. So lots of ways that you can learn more.
Demək, son olaraq onu demək istəyir ki, yəni öyrənməyin çox yolları vardır. Təbii ki, RPT ilə maraqlanırsınızsa, Azərbaycana, Bakıya belə gələ biləcək təlimçilərimiz vardır ki, bu aralar mən bundan məşğulam, bizə ən doğru təlimçini bura Azərbaycana gətirim. Bəzi təlimlər RPT 1-2 onlayn şəkildə də keçir ki, mən özüm elə öyrəndim. RPT 3 və 4-ü Simon özü birbaşa bizə öyrədir və əgər terapiyaya ehtiyacınız duysa, ümumiyyətlə kurslarla bağlı məlumat barədə hər zaman mənə də yaza bilərsiniz, elə Simon özünə də yaza bilərsiniz. Terapiyalara da ehtiyacınız olsa, Azərbaycan dilli, mənə və sırf birbaşa öz yaradıcısından terapiya almaq istəsə, Simon'un özünə də birbaşa yaza bilərsiniz. Can they write to you directly to your Instagram page?
They can, and it's okay. You can, if you don't speak English, you can still send me a message. I'll use Google Translate.
Perfect. So birbaşa onun özünə də yaza bilərsiniz. Mən təq eləyəcəm ki, siz bilərsiniz Simon'un səhifəsi hansıdır. Thank you very much, Simon. And people send lots of thank you as well. Have a lovely day. Bye.
I'm going back to the beach. See you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.